Hey, set your mind right now. Nothing before this matters. We came here with everything still on the line. Everything you wanted in the offseason is still out in front of you. What would you give for that moment right now? Let's go, man.
Let's go.
1, 2, 3.
Great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing.
What is good, Raider Nation? It is your boy Raider Alex. I am back with yet another video for you guys. In this video, guys, we're gonna be talking about Odell Beckham Jr. and whether or not I think it's a realistic option that the Raiders should look at the wide receiver position. Whether or not I think it would be a good option for us to consider in this free agency period. Before I get started on that though, anybody that is new to the channel and you guys love Raiders related content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. With that being said, let's jump right into it. Now, Odell Beckham Jr., yes, he has a lot of talent. He's been a very productive wide receiver in this league, and pairing him on the opposite side of Davante Adams, look, it's got a potential to be very, very good for this team. He has a big name. He will definitely get a lot of people excited. Last year, he was still pretty productive. He had 537 yards and 5 touchdowns. Past couple years, I mean, he hasn't been able to reach 1,000 yards since 2019, and part of that issue has been the injuries for him. So that's definitely something that you have to consider with an older wide receiver like Odell Beckham. So yeah, when it comes to Odell Beckham Jr., nobody can deny the amount of talent that this guy has, and adding a guy like this is not going to hurt your roster by any means. But for a couple of different factors, I think this is not the most realistic, and I don't know if it's honestly the best option for us to consider moving forward for this team. And the first factor is going to be the price. How much money is this guy going to command? I mean, last year with the Rams, he wasn't getting paid too much, after, he got shipped out from Cleveland and then went to the Rams. But, according to Spot Track, his market value currently is about $13 million per year. So if that is true, if Odell Beckham Jr. is trying to get anywhere close to that number, to me, that is just way too high of a price tag, for our team. If we can get him for the cheap, I honestly don't want to pay this guy anywhere close to $10 million per year, and I'm not sure how low of a contract he would take. If he took a really low contract, it would be on the sole reason that he thinks that this team is in win now mode and that he wants to join. He's very attracted to the Las Vegas destination. Like I said, he wants to just come in here because he wants to compete for a Super Bowl. That's really the only possibility I can see that happening. Also, another factor you have to consider with Odell Beckham Jr. is those injuries. As I said, his production the last couple of years has dipped, and a huge part of that has been the injuries. It's been 2 back-to-back years where he tears his ACL, and as you get older, man, I mean, I don't know how you can recover from that. I mean, I understand that technology nowadays is a whole lot better than it was before, but still, that's just not a good sign. Back-to-back ACL injuries. I don't want us to bring him in here and then he tears his ACL and then we have to pick somebody up later in the future. So like I said, injuries is definitely a huge concern when it comes to Odell Beckham Jr. And when it comes to Odell Beckham Jr., this is a wide receiver that likes to get his touches, likes to get his targets, and would he be okay with coming into this offense and potentially being the 4th option on this team? Yes, I said the 4th option for Odell Beckham Jr. because we got to think about it. Davante Adams is a clear-cut number 1, option on this offense. For me, the second option, I would put Darren Waller. And the third option, man, I mean, I think it's going to be hard for Odell to surpass Hunter Renfrow just based on how dependable Hunter Renfrow has been for Derek Carr, how consistent he's been, the chemistry they've already drawn up from playing years together. So there's a huge possibility that Odell Beckham Jr. would be the fourth option on this team. Is he going to be okay with, going some games where he gets, 2-3 targets a game? I honestly don't know. That would have to be up to Odell Beckham Jr. to understand that, to be able to, like I said, it would have to be probably a scenario where he says, you know what, I think this team is in a really good position to compete, and I'm willing to take less than what I could get somewhere else, and, and I might have to deal with, getting, less targets than I would on another team. But how realistic is that? I mean, I honestly don't think it's super realistic. I think Odell Beckham is gonna want, close to market value, and I think he's gonna want to get his touches, man, because I think he has a lot of confidence in his game, and he doesn't want to be a fourth option on this team. And we also just signed Demarcus Robinson, wide receiver from the Kansas City Chiefs. So I don't know, the wide receiver group in this team is already getting filled up. If we are going to add any more wide receivers, I want it to be a cheap option in free agency, or we can just draft one. Honestly, like, I don't see the huge need for a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. I think, if we're going to spend anywhere close to like $10 million on a player, let's invest that in the offensive line and the defense, not a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. I understand he's got a lot of talent. It's a nice name to look at, but personally, man, I think we should concentrate in different directions for this team than a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. But yeah, Raider Nation, those are my thoughts and opinions on the possibility of us signing Odell Beckham Jr. to this team. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Would you guys like Odell Beckham on this team, or would you guys, rather pass on that? Let me know in the comments down below. As I said, for anybody that is new to the channel though, and you guys love Raiders related content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and I will see you guys in the next one.